Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Santa Paula, Andy Sobel. Mayor Sobel has been an integral part of the Santa Paula community for over a decade, having lived and worked in various countries. He's originally from Mexico City and States before settling here in our beautiful city in 2009. He has an impressive background as an elementary school teacher, an educational researcher, a community organizer, and also software engineer. Very varied and interesting background. Mayor Sobel's dedication to public service is evident with his appointment to the Measure T Oversight Committee in 2016 and his subsequent appointment to serve out the remaining 2 years on the City Council in 2018. His commitment to Santa Paula has been further demonstrated by his election to the council in 2020. As the city's current mayor, Andy Sobel strives to maintain and improve the services, policies, and practices of our local government. He ensures that Santa Paula remains an amazing city that it is while preparing for a bright, bright future. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Andy Sobel.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. A little bit undeserved, but beautiful to hear. Thanks to John for doing about half my presentation. I guess we should have been talking to each other. So welcome everybody. It's so great. This is really one of the premier events of the city every year because it brings people from all different parts of the county doing different things. So it's really great to have you here in the room. So I just want to lead off with one of my campaign promises in 2018, and then I ran again in 2020. And my promise was to push for longer and more boring council meetings. And I think my colleagues and staff would agree that I've accomplished that promise. And so I just want to make sure that I'm making that same promise this evening. So. It just helps with transparency and full disclosure, so settle in. All right. So, and also, later on we're doing the awards, so I just want to acknowledge that one of our city's own, Gina Rios, is getting an award for the public safety tonight, so I just want to, since I have a microphone, say congratulations wherever you're sitting. All right, so most of this is, city stuff, so not particularly exciting, but super important, and that's partly why you're here tonight, to hear that. So we'll be talking about our fiscal setting right now. So first I want to mention that a lot of people might not know that 2 years ago we switched into a 2-year budget cycle and to match our 2-year strategic plan. So that was kind of a big change for us, but it's worked out fantastically. It's been smooth. We were getting, our budget has been well planned 2 years ago, so there was very few adjustments to be made through. And as you'll find out, it matched a lot of our strategic plan. So just kudos to everybody on that. All right, so first in general, people ask us all the time, so we have a roughly $50 million budget. And our general fund is about $20 million, so pretty small compared to a lot of cities, but great for us. Even though we've had a lot of stresses the last few years, our fiscal position is very strong. So council has embraced fiscal strategies and put policy into place that, that have resulted in excellent increases over the year. So, and that's in our investment policy, our savings policy, all sorts of things. One of the things that we really strive to do starting a few years back is to get our reserves up. So we put in a resolution years ago to hit 20%, and as you can see, year by year, we're getting there, and this year we plan to get that 20% for both general fund and Measure T. So that means it gets us through a crisis. And so the general fund reserves in Measure T are now at $3.8 million. And of course, that's had a great effect on our bond rating and also the state rates the cities in terms of their fiscal strength. Years ago, we were near the bottom of the list and we're starting to creep up. So Measure T, to all the people from Santa Paula in the room who voted for it, pat yourself on the back, well done. That's been a savior for the city. it keeps rolling in. During COVID, a lot of people started ordering online. That was great because we get part of the online sales tax as well. So Measure T, we're predicting for the end of the year, probably will come in at $4.2 million, which is, again, just really saves us for the budget. And then the Measure T Oversight Committee, which I was originally on, commits to get any surplus, and we almost always have a surplus because we're conservative budgeters here. We'll go straight to the streets. We have a few that need some help. So this year, out of the Measure T, $3.5 million have been allocated. $2 million went to the police department, covering salaries and also a vehicle replacement program. $500,000 went to the Parks and Recreation program, and one of the programs within that is money went towards our new city core effort. So we have a lot of youth involved in all sorts of things in the city, and $1 million plus went into the street improvements. All right, so, COVID, caused a lot of issues, but also, the federal government stepped up, as we all know, and provided a lot of aid through a couple of different packages. And the city, we were very strategic with it. One, how we use it. Two, to make sure we understood it's one-time funding, right? So what can we do to help solve some issues right now, but not make sure that we're depending on those monies? So with staff and council, we went through multiple iterations. We're still going through them to decide how that money should be distributed. So the city received in two tranches $7.1 million. So huge chunk of money for Santa Paula. So, and that money was distributed over 40 different projects, programs, organizations. So I'd like to just highlight a few of them, but up here you'll see it went to a lot of places. First, $1.5 million went into our harbor project, which is great. $250,000 went to community nonprofits. We want to make sure a lot of it went to the city, but also went out to the community. And so I'm going to go ahead and name them because I think it's important to know who we supported. So that would be Lucha, which is also Poder Popular, Spark, Santa Paula Hospice, Carl, Boys and Girls Club, the Spirit of Santa Paula, Food Share, Latino Town Hall, Promotoras y Promotores, and the House of Magic Foundation. Right. In addition, the county got ARPA money, and Supervisor Long is somewhere over there. I saw her raise her hand. And so they stepped up to help out the city of Santa Paula as well. So they generously supported a couple of things. One was to remodel the Boys and Girls Club restroom with $250,000, and $100,000 to help remodel the community center. So both of those were in dire need of work, which is great. And both of those, I think, probably why the county stepped up is they're used not only in Santa Paula, but for all sorts of county events. And then additionally, just last Tuesday, ARPA came back to council because we had some money that wasn't used and we moved it around. So we recommended that we spend $140,000 of ARPA funds on Boys and Girls Club Kitchen. So Jan is here and she was very happy to hear that news. Thank you. All right, so COVID also affected a lot of our residents here. A lot of people lost work, lower paychecks and things like that. So a couple of things came out of that. One is the California State Water Board helped us to cover overdue residential and commercial and wastewater bill payments. So they gave to the city $711,000, which was great. That was a big chunk of debt we were carrying. And then the state-run low-income household water assistance program. The city received more than $117,000, and that money went to servicing over 100 accounts that were delinquent in the city. And I just want to thank this is a big effort by a lot of people, but we have community partners with the Community Action Ventura County who's here, Poder Popular, Promotoras y Promotores, LTH, and those partnered with city staff, mostly the finance department worked hard. Councilmember Chavez was deeply involved with that. And we created an event at the community center, got a lot of people in, and over 200 bill arrangements were made to get people out of the issues they were in and into kind of a repayment program. So I don't know the numbers, but it went down exponentially. So it's really just a nice way to see how outside monies can help our residents. The other great success we've had, years ago, the council, and 2 years ago in the strategic plan, said we got to really get our grant story together. We were applying for a lot of grants, not getting a lot of grant money. So in the last 2 years, we've had a lot more success. So for example, for the Harvard Boulevard, thanks to Congresswoman Brownlee and Senators Feinstein and Padilla, we got $2 million towards that. It was excellent. We got $1.5 million for a community bike trail connectivity project. We have one in existence. We're going to spend it at both sides. And that was a VCTC grant administered TDA monies. We got $190,000 from a local agency technical assistance grant to pursue a broadband master plan, which, as we know, is going to really be great for the city. And finally, we're waiting to see if we'll get another $1.5 million appropriation process money from the feds for our Mesa water tank replacement, which is a $5 million job. So, and all those monies that come in helps us not raise water and sewer bills. So there's an indirect effect to the community. Harvard Boulevard, depending how you got here, you almost certainly came in one way or another. So for the in-towners, you know what's going on. For the out-of-towners, you might realize there's a ton of construction going on, so it's great news. Almost all of our city has 100-year-old sewer water pipes. So street by street, we've got to get in there, dig it up, and replace them. So Harvard Boulevard is a good example of that. We'll be installing almost 8,600 feet of water main between Peck and Mill, and over 8,000 feet of sewer main. So it's a giant project. And we get asked all the time, when is it going to be paved? Well, unfortunately, not till all that's done. So sometime next year. But I do want to point out one picture here. I'm not sure if it was legal, but our contractor, Toro, let me borrow a hard hat, jump in, and I got to write a thank you note to Congressman Brownlee over here. So Jonathan Royas and I went out there to look for money for Mesa Tanks to DC. We met with the Congresswoman, we gave her a frame picture. So I'd like to think that's on her desk, because what other congressperson has that picture? And then I let her know that her name will be buried under Acacia Road for the next 100 years. And then we do thank the community for your patience while this goes on. We had a lot of complaints about how horrible the paving was. Now we're getting complaints about the work, but I take that any day. And speaking of paving, so for the last 4 years, we've had a pavement management plan. We're working hard on that. It's actually, there's a method to it, but it is very frustrating for a lot of people who want their street paved. And also why we pave some streets that seem pretty good and other streets which are horrible. But if we don't maintain the streets, then in 10 years they are going to be horrible. So it's kind of pennies on the dollar to maintain them now, so we don't have to do egregious fixes later. And of course that saves us a lot of money in the long run. So in this last year, we paved almost 4 miles of roadway. And so that's linear miles, so that's about 800,000 square feet of pavement. And we did a bunch of different portions of over 13 streets around the city. So I think right now we'll do a brief video. Again, portions of 13 streets could be included in that, so it was a great year. So, and I just want to kind of say that number, that was almost 800,000 square feet of pavement. So next year, we'll be paving Harvard. We'll be basically paving one street. So unfortunately, the rest of the city will not get a lot of work done, because Harvard in and of itself is over 826,000 square feet, because it's such a wide street, so even if it's a shorter amount, but it has to be done. And I also just want to shout out to the potholing team. So we've had the rains, like every city in the county, really caused a lot of problems on the streets, so they've been hard at it. So another thing we did 2 years ago in our strategic plan is look at the tree policy. So for me, I thought that was interesting because, you know, some stuff we're doing right now, we want to pave a street right now, but trees are not something you might not notice for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, but it needs to be done. So, now we have a maintenance plan, we have a master tree inventory, so we know all our trees, we know their health, we know how to maintain them, and we have a replacement policy, so I'm just really excited about that, and then it's going to be fun to, you know, if I'm kicking around just to see trees that were put in the last few years. So we had an Arbor Day proclamation this year, I partnered with the school district on that, and then last year we planted 62 years with trees with volunteers. This year we gave away 150 trees to residents, which is great, and we had a workshop how to plant them, how to maintain it, and how to do those frequent trees where you have a bunch of fruit on it. So, and that's allowed us to be called the Tree City USA a second year in a row, so great accomplishment. So our the City Parks and Rec Department, it still has a strong partnership with the school district, which is, you know, great, and we're tightening that up. So one of the things that happened this year was a summer camp where we had over 400 youth, along with swim lessons that were provided through the YMCA for 144 youth. So it's really great. If you come out in the summer, you go to some of our parks, you'll see all the camp kids having fun. We have a tremendous senior program along with the senior nutrition program. So this year we had over 7,000 congregate meals. We delivered 10,359 meals to homebound seniors, and for a total of over 18,000 meals provided. And those are hot meals cooked every day. So kudos to the staff for that. As John mentioned, the PBID, Property Improvement District, is doing great. So their agreement is now on for another 5 years. As John mentioned, it's expanded and it's going to the other side of 10th, which is pretty neat because we've got restaurants and other things that will be going to that side of town. So our downtown is growing, which is kind of rare, so very exciting. And the PBID is, they'll be working with the city for facade improvement here downtown. But this year they've done things like upgrading parking, lot lighting, revitalizing the banner program. They repaired a lot of the breaks around the trees, and we're doing tree uplighting, so they've been very busy. Housing, we're pumping along in a lot of different directions. Of course, Harvest is our biggest development coming in right now. So at the moment, there's 582 homes sold out there. If you haven't been out for a while, check it out because now it's a vibrant part of the city. And the next phase will be starting soon. So it's another 500 plus homes that will be coming in. We're doing a pilot program right now where we have a welcome kit for new homeowners. So that was put together with some generous support between Luminera, Lewis Homes, Colavo, and a lot of the businesses, some here in this room. So we think that's kind of a neat thing. You move to Santa Paula, somebody's going to come and say hello and give you a welcome kit. And then we have our first affordable housing project going in, which kind of surprised me. So it's done by people self-help, some down on Harvard. They went through the process, permitting process, started building, they're cranking away, so they're getting pretty near. So that's going to be 69 affordable homes, along with 21 homes for farm workers. So excited to see that coming in. So, of course, one of our things we're keenly in need of is economic development. So John covered that a little bit. So he mentioned the monthly roundtables. That's something we asked for in our strategic plan 2 years ago. Council did. So now we're having these things, and started with a handful, but every month it's growing. The energy in the room is great. And the businesses, they moved away from the language of what are you going to do for us, or what can we do, how can we work together. So they're building relationships. So that's really exciting. It's very vibrant, and a lot of things are going on that way. And then as John mentioned, there's all sorts of workshops at Women's Economic Venture, EDC. So we have a lot of businesses that are mature, just starting out, and entrepreneurs who are learning all sorts of ways business strong and up and running. So I don't have a number here. John mentioned a few openings coming up, but we've had a lot of business openings this year. One of the biggest ones was the market by Superior, so we're going to take a quick look at that. Moving on to our police department, we have Don Aguilar, as mentioned, is our new chief. And as was mentioned also, we're celebrating our 100-year celebration for the department. So there's been a variety of events. One that's coming up will be on May 14th at 9 p.m. at our police memorial to celebrate National Police Week and also honor those who are falling in the line of duty. Our crime rate is persistently low, which is great, thanks to the efforts of the department. And now we're 2 years in a row without a homicide, which is great news, so thank you. And then also the PD is kind of the people engaged mostly with the homeless population, and we've done a great job of working with them. They partner with the county in a variety of ways, like the backpack medicine, to work with the homeless to help them out, get them dialed into services. So we're doing a good job. Like many cities, it is a challenge for us. Finally, one part of the police department, we have the police explorers. They're youth that get trained by the police department. So they do a bunch of things. One of the things they do is they go into these competitions. So they won here in the county of Ventura, so they got to represent us. So they went to Chandler, Arizona, where they competed against 45 chapters from across the nation, and they won 3rd place in a couple of the events there. So really good on that. Of course, every city has their challenges. We had ours, a few years ago. Of course, we had COVID. So in these, it kind of shows the health of your city government if we can move through these challenges. I believe we have. So among the kind of the big ones we had was some litigation. We had personnel challenges, and then we went through the districting process, which is kind of a heavy lift. Of course, we had a wild winter. We had storms. One 24-hour period, Santa Paula had 5 inches of rain. We had trees down. Of course, we had our sinkhole, which is famous, but we got all through those pretty well. The sinkhole was repaired in 6 days. The tree cleanups were done very quickly, and we had a lot less tree damage because before the storms came, we'd been doing our tree maintenance because of our plan. So Santa Paula did very well, but even so, we got, I think it was $750,000 in FEMA identified issues. So luckily, some of that will be recoverable. All right, so that's kind of where we're at. I just want to give a short thing on what's coming up on the horizon. The new sports park that's going on at Harvest. You can drive out there and kind of look over the fence. It's starting to look like a sports park. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a big draw for the community and a very useful place for a lot of things. As I mentioned, districting. Our first election under districts will be in 2024. The East Area Medical Pavilion, which is on the south side of 126 across from Harvest, is coming along. So that's going to have medical offices. County Health will have a much bigger presence there in terms of healthcare and behavioral services. The hospital funding is still in process, but it's looking promising. So, and it's kind of interesting. So we have that going in there, and somehow the word gets out. So we have people checking in with the department every day on what other opportunities are. So there's other areas that can be developed there, north and south of the highway, east and west of Howard Drive. So that is going to be an economic driver for Santa Paula. So we're really grateful to the county and excited that that's going to happen. And then we We have another affordable house. I mentioned that affordable housing coming in. We just had our first one. Now we've got a second one coming in. It's going to be called the Red Tail Housing Development. And it's going to be almost 300 units on the east side of town. And 60% of those homes will support affordable housing. And I don't want to get nerdy here, but the state has requirements for cities. And a lot of cities trying to shirk those responsibilities. We don't. We're taking it up. And that one development alone will help us hit 100% of our low income housing requirements. So that's great news for a lot of our residents. So just want to say thank you for, hopefully it wasn't that boring, but I tried to make it as boring as I could. I want to thank all the people, the residents who step up to be on our committees and commissions. It really is heartening to see that every time we have an opening, a variety of people come to step up. I want to thank our staff. We have a tremendous staff. It's small, but we get the job done. So I appreciate that they carry that heavy load. I want to thank our partners at all levels of government, county, state, and federal. And mostly I want to thank the people in Santa Paula, because you're wonderful and you make us what we are. So thank you very much.